No. I like it. I think this will be interesting.
Two. All right. So as far as the transition team, we came up with some questions that we think would be really good for you to answer. So without further ado, who would you go to when you need advice?
My father. I'm blessed. I got 3 brothers that 2 of them are older, and my younger brother is certainly somebody that I follow his lead. So I'm lucky and blessed that I got 3 brothers. I've got a lot of people in my life that people I look up to that I can lean on. A lot of close friends, in this business, this union business.
What advice would you give a young person wanting to get into the fire service?
It's a special calling. I would tell someone that wanted to come into the fire service that give it your all, work hard, make sure you're prepared for the job. It gets very serious, very quick, and that the rewards that you'll reap from a lifetime of service will pay great dividends to you as a person.
Absolutely. What are your top 3 priorities during your first administration?
I think that one of the things I want to do is make sure that we reset the moral compass of the organization, that the focus delves into the members on the back step or the front seat of an ambulance. The dues paying members that put their lives on the line every day. As happens too often in organizations like ours, internal political agendas and selfish motivations can sometimes nudge the mission off target. And what I want to do first and foremost is make sure that this organization is focused on protecting our membership, taking care of our families and our fallen, and fighting like heck for a living.
Absolutely.
And so I'd say my second priority would be to get our internal structure as an organization into better condition. We have a lot of operating pressures, and our pensions, the cost of our personnel is significant. We have our salary to benefit ratio is 71%. So if you want to hire somebody at $100,000 a year, it costs $171,000 to employ. That's a significant. It's a significant ratio. The GST and I, frankly, who's doing a great job, has a strong focus on making sure that we make some changes so that we are financially sound and resilient as an organization to meet the needs of the members' future.
I think I know this answer, but
Third, I didn't.
We didn't.
Go to third.
Not bad.
I think the third thing that we as an organization want to do is make sure that we're engaging our rank and file members, that we're communicating with them, that they understand the value of the union, and that the union is them, not the leadership, and that they have a vested interest in the success of the union, and their success and the union's success are one and the same.
If you weren't a firefighter, what profession would you have chosen?
I think I probably would have been a cop. Probably would have been police. I never really had any other ambition but to be a firefighter. I grew up in a house where my father was on the job. I was of 3 of us ended up firefighters out of 6 kids, and I was the one that always wanted to be a firefighter. I think my older brother Sean, who's my captain now, he was a great firefighter in his own right, respected on the job. He was a very strong union man, but I think he kind of took the job because it was just a job. He needed a job. And my younger brother, when he came on the fire department, it was just to wait till the police called him. He wanted to be a cop, and he stayed on the fire. I was a guy that, growing up, I wanted to follow my father's footsteps and be a firefighter, and it was really my only ambition ever since I was a kid.
If you did cook, what was your go-to meal to cook at the firehouse?
They didn't let me cook. The few attempts I had were failures. I can do breakfast. Breakfast is something I can throw a bunch of bacon and sausage in a pan. In our house, we just get tater tots and smash them up like they're home fries. and then throw a bunch of scrambled eggs in the pan. That's about the size of it. Other than that, they don't let me near the kitchen.
Walk us through a day as the GP of the IFF.
The day starts very early for me. I'm up at 6:15. I start with some Zooms that I do every day that are more self-help type stuff, and I get dialed in on the day on what my calendar looks like, where I need to be and at what time. A lot of travel, as you probably are well aware, we travel, principal officers around the road all the time, almost every week out of the year. Literally 48 weeks a year we're on the road. So there's a lot of travel involved. And basically what I found is that I am either on the phone or engaged with somebody from 6 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, wherever I am, and then I try to go to bed. And the weekends are we try to play catch up on email and try to plan by Sunday night, trying to figure out what the week looks like. And with probably ballpark 20, 30 calls a weekend, that is just, dealing with issues that come up.
Very busy, to say the least.
Yeah, it's like taking a drink from a deck gun. It doesn't slow down, and really I'm only 6 weeks into the job, but being the GST was a demanding job as well, and you really have to try to chisel time and retain focus on things that aren't your job, whether it's yourself and getting a workout in, or being home and being present in your house is different than being home.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom has taught us all that you can be home but nowhere present.
Right.
And that's a difficult challenge because stress pulls you, almost like the heat and the fire. Like you feel that heat in your ears, it's gonna push you down the way where it wants you. Stress does the same thing in jobs that demand so much of you, like these union jobs that we all have. That stress pulls you to work. It pulls you into the email, pulls you into return a call, pulls you into getting on your text message, remembering something on a Sunday night or a Sunday morning when people, going to church or what they're doing, you're going, remind him to go do it. I need that done. And I find myself trying to hold back working on the weekends so that I'm not disturbing other people's weekend. If I send an email to staff that says, because I thought of it at 4 o'clock on a Saturday, it says, hey, we have to get this done. They're gonna work on Saturday or Sunday, and I don't want that. And I'm trying to get to a discipline where on the weekends, I'm not tasking anybody till Monday, But that's one of the things that kind of, the virtual world we live in the workspace, coupled with the fact that wherever this is, your office is with you. There's no more sliding down the dinosaur's back like Fred Flintstone when the horn blows. Works with you wherever your phone is. And if your phone's with you, works with you. And trying to discipline yourself so that you don't, fall into the abyss of losing everything else is a challenge.
I bet. I think you answered this question already, but it kind of goes along with who do you go to when you need advice, but who has the greatest impact in your life?
My mother and father, for human beings, and one of the, I'd have to say God in the big picture, my higher power, which, for me, I don't speak for everybody, but for me, I try to, when I feel my inability to control slipping, I realize that it's not my job to control it. I try to remind myself that God has a plan that's better than mine.
That's right.
Which is what my little brother, I said I have no problem following the lead of my little brother. Something my brother always says, God's plan is better than mine.
Tell us your assignments while at the Boston Fire throughout your service.
Well, I got appointed in 1997, got assigned to Ladder Company 17 in South End. It was a busy truck, house that my father was in, was a private. That was a technical rescue company when I got on the job. So we were technical rescue right up for about my first 4 or 5 years on the job. which put us places. We were at the Worcester Cold Storage Fire in 1999, which was a major recovery effort in a partially collapsed building, and it was dangerous. And the technical rescue piece, we also did tunnel rescue, and we call it tunnel rescue, but it's really tunnel firefighting too, because we have a lot of tunnels in Boston, and at the time, we had a major outfall tunnel that ran, I think, 12 miles into the harbor. It was a sewage tunnel, and we had a pretty significant fire out there, a couple of them. And we had, I believe the packs were 4-hour bottles, which was oxygen, with not just our SCBA air flow, O2, high pressure that was regulated into a 4-hour breather. It looked like Ghostbusters when you had them on. I had big packs, and so I got to do a lot of ton of training. Low confined space, high angle, tunnel, trench. Then we stopped being a technical rescue truck, but I've basically been assigned to the same line of company since '97, which I just love it. It's my home.
What is the greatest challenge that you see for the IFF in the future?
It's an interesting question. I think that the need for a union will never go away. I don't feel that the threat to the IFF as a whole will ever materialize in totality, because the need for us to have a voice is as certain as the sun rising in the morning. We have a dangerous job. We all know we get killed when we don't have adequate staffing. We get killed when we don't have adequate training. We get killed when we don't have adequate equipment. You look at the things like the cancer rates, behavioral health issues, things that aren't necessarily obvious to the risk of the job, heart disease. They talk about sleep deprivation wreaking such havoc on us. And I worked Friday night and Saturday night. We didn't get much sleep. The need for us to have a voice to advocate for each other is never going to go away. And I think that there's always going to be a demand for us to have a union to protect us. And when you look at the different levels of how our union is structured, whether it's your local union that's going to be your immediate, go-to for any issues that you have, and have the greatest immediate impact on your working conditions and your safety. And then your state and provincial organizations in Canada, where a lot of our benefit structure is governed at the state level, whether it's your pensions, your access to healthcare, ability to bargain, how you're bargaining, if you can, is structured, death benefits at the state and provincial level. All of those at the state and provincial organizations play a pivotal role in the daily life of an IFF member. And then you have the international, that is basically the parent group, where we have to take on the global issues, things like, cancer in the fire service. We've successfully lobbied and got grant money for staffing, billions of dollars, equipment, billions of dollars, hazmat training, all those things that come down from the international. Basically, whenever there is a crisis emerge, look at the pandemic being one of them, how we are able to develop protocols that we can push out to make sure our members are safe. All of those that are not necessarily germane to an individual, whether it's a state or a local, municipality or county, things that are global issues all fall here at the international. And that's a big piece of where the fight is, whether it's building codes, fighting against building codes, developing the data and science that we need to be successful in arguments for our health and safety. All those come out of the IFF, all of them come out of the parent group. And the ability, our success is squarely driven on our ability to play in the political arena, period. And it's just how it works. Politicians sign our checks, politicians sign the laws that dictate, what benefits our family will get if we get killed or if we get sick or injured. All those are battles that we have to have in the political arena. political might comes in strength and unity and our ability to harness the 324,000 members and the dues money that we kick in and the PAC money that we donate, which individual members have to donate our PAC money. That's about being able to harness that strength in numbers and be able to put a shoulder in where we needed to affect change.
How do you see you and the staff of the IFF going forward on political endorsements?
Well, it's one of the things that the transition team studied. We want to have, a more transparent, I think we need a more transparent process. And in particular, for us in the States, the presidential endorsements every 4 years, when we do decide to weigh into them, have the most divisive impact on our union, all of our political endorsements. And we have to try to make sure that whatever process we develop and utilize, it has the least divisive impact on the solidarity of the union. But we have to remember that we have a small window of issues that are germane to us as firefighters, paramedics, dispatchers, EMS professionals. We're about pensions. We're about access to healthcare. We're about the ability to bargain. We're about the health and safety of our members. We don't get into things that are usually the real hot button platform issues of, like in today, it's things like immigration. We don't get into foreign policy. We don't get into gun control. We don't get into abortion. We don't get into issues that aren't germane to us, specifically being firefighters and paramedics and EMTs and such. So that's where when we rate a candidate, we vet a candidate, and we judge a candidate, it's on how they have performed and what their commitment to the issues that matter to us, how they've performed on it.
I think in the past, that's what's been the problem, is it's not, we had the polling of majority of Democrats, and I've heard you explain this before, but maybe you can explain it to more of an audience about, there's no reason that they thought to poll Republicans, because a Republican would never vote for a Democrat anyway. But in that arena, when you said, who would be your political endorsement as a Democrat, that's the poll that happened, right? And I think that the mass majority, or the vast majority, would like to see maybe all your local and provincial leaders as a whole kind of have a focus group to say, who would you like us to see? If I guess ask everybody versus just the Democrats was the biggest thing that you got. Of course, here in the South, you had that saying, oh my gosh. And it would be more of a, let everybody's voice be heard versus just the Democrat. That was the sentiment, and you know that.
Oh, sure.
You got to talk about it.
There was, the poll that was conducted by, the IFF was based on the Democratic primary. It was the only question that was asked. At the time, there was a large pool of candidates for the presidential nomination of the Democratic Party. Traditionally, our members are more center-right leaning. A lot of the candidates in the primary were more hard left, some of them, that our members would never really identify with. But in fairness, Joe Biden's history in that endorsement, which, full disclosure, I made the motion to endorse Joe Biden in the executive board. It was the right thing to do. He earned our endorsement for 5 decades of support for every firefighter issue that came across him as an elected official. And a body of work like that, and plus, one of the things you have to weigh is the ability to win. And he had obviously won, but at the time it was a riskier endorsement. It wasn't, he wasn't the nominee. And, he was certainly in the hunt, but he wasn't the nominee. And, for us, it turned out to be, a great endorsement. Now we're in a position where the cabinet that the president has built out, we have people that are strong supporters of the IFF. people like, my friend Marty Walsh, the Secretary of Labor, former mayor of Boston, former head of the building trades in Boston. Strong labor person. Javier Becerra, who's the Secretary of Health and Human Services, a very close friend of Frankie Lehman. Ironically, Frankie and Javier grew up in the same neighborhood in LA, and myself and Marty Walsh grew up in the same neighborhood in Boston. But we have an opportunity with the Biden administration to hopefully do some good things, in particular things like our firefighters, the federal sector firefighters who are working a 72-hour work week every week, and have issues. They don't have presumptive laws that protect them from carcinogens that they face. Things like the PFOAs that are in the foam, the AFFF foam, that our federal firefighters have used for decades. I used it when I was an Air Force firefighter. So that's the type of change that we have to try to affect while we have this window of political support in key places.
What advice would you give your younger self?
It's a great question. Great question. I think that the most brutal answer I have for you is I wish that I quit drinking when I was a lot younger. I think that for me, I think I would have developed into a better person at a younger age. And that was, it's one thing I tell myself. If I could meet myself at 14 years old and tell myself, do better things than run around partying.
How has the fire service changed you from the beginning to now?
The fire service? Man, I gotta say, I'm one of them people that was chasing fire engines before I could ride a bicycle. And, going in the firehouse and making runs going to fires with my father before I was in high school. So I've always kind of had the fire service, in my blood. So I guess every bit of me is part of. It's hard to say what changed since I came into the fire service, because part of me's always kind of had it running through my veins, I think I'm probably one of them people that was always kind of be a lost soul if I never run a fire department,
During your campaign, you spoke about the SMART platform. What is your, goal for the SMART platform?
Communication is such a pivotal tool in shaping opinion. It sounds like a simple statement, but think about how difficult it is to do and how free and cheap information is today, and misleading and outright lies get root and drive false narratives. When you think about the solidarity of our union being pivotal to its success, our ability to educate our members and help them to understand, political endorsements is a great example. We have to be able to educate our members as to why we do what we do, so that they understand better. Most of our members that were, on the opposite side of this endorsement, when you sit and explain what the union's role is in their life and how we judge our politicians based on those needs, things like pension security and access to healthcare and right to bargain, safety in the fireground, and where these politicians are, they understand more. We're not telling every member that pays dues in the IFF that you will vote a certain way. You don't give up your independent vote when you join the union. It's your vote.
That's right.
What our job is to say, hey, for the pocket of your life that you pay dues into, that's germane to your profession, we as a union vetted these candidates, and we think for those issues, this is the best candidate. If in your house, in your purview as an individual, you have issues that's priorities trump those, which happens, and I don't blame people, they have a right, then you vote your conscience. It's your vote. But it's our obligation to say that, We think that this candidate would be better for your issues that are germane to you being an IFF member. It's our job. We'd be remiss if we didn't. You know? So, I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's the SMART platform. The ability to communicate is key. It does a lot more than just communicate. I mean, if you're a young or new, you don't have to be young, a new IFF leader in a local, and you're taking on things like the treasury, having your having your locals' business mechanisms organized on the IFF Smart platform, things like grievance tracking, reminders set for the treasurer and the president to file your IRS Form 990s every year. That we have, hundreds of locals that lose their nonprofit status or threat of losing their nonprofit status because of it. There's a lot of mechanisms within the IFF Smart platform that can protect the organization of the local union or the state affiliate or provincial affiliate that you can set up in there that would pay dividends. So the Smart platform we made a significant investment in it. Basically, the driver of it was the loss of payroll deduction of union dues was the driver of us investing in the Smart platform. We saw it in Iowa. It's happening right now in 2021 in West Virginia. So we're seeing places where a lot of those right-wing ideologies that push out, legislation that's negatively impacts us has success in certain states during certain political cycles where they trend in that direction. And we have to have the capacity. I mean, could you imagine going around your local union on payday and knocking on everyone's locker going, hey, you gotta give me $15 for the union every week? And that's a tall order. And the Smart platform is one of the things that can help with that, and fundraising. You have the ability to raise money off the Smart platform when you have, a member that maybe has a fire at home or an issue that you want to help somebody. It's just basically technology is trying to help us navigate the future and running unions.
After the 90 days of transition, what is the plan going forward?
Well, the transition team report will basically be a roadmap for our future. It's basically a strategic plan. Some of it will require more analysis before we can actually affect any change. But when we look at what the transition team put together, it's going to be our roadmap toward building a stronger union. And that's what, the charge of the IFF Executive Board and what we'll be bringing into the convention in 2022 and 2024, and potentially beyond. We're an organization that's in constant need of refinement, same as every organization, same as every corporation, whether it's Amazon.com or, I like to say, or your kids' Little League.
Mm-hmm.
Every organization needs refinement. You have to pay attention to yourself, make sure you're adapting to the times and meeting the needs. In our case, we're a union that has, we're not the standard traditional labor union. The success of our union, literally, the lives of our members depend on. Mission failure is not an option. And, that's what the idea of this transition, taking a hard look at everything and building a path to the future. Well, Josh, thank you. Thank you for all the work you've done on behalf of the IFF, helping me be successful as a general president, your work on the transition team, and sitting me down and I enjoyed it, actually. It makes me think, And for our rank and file members out there, know that this is your union. We work for you. The success of this union depends on you being involved in it. And the success of this union, all of our lives depend on it. And in that respect, this mission cannot fail. We have to stick together. Whatever trials and tribulations we have, we just got to navigate them. No union is perfect. I like to say, no union, not even a marriage, is perfect. So for all the imperfections in our union, whether it's your local union, your state provincial or our international union, it's still the greatest weapon we have to protect each other, is this union, period. And so stick together, be you, be strong, be firefighters.